Good evening and welcome to the June 6th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome for those of you that have tuned in early. We are starting early tonight because we have a 6:30 candidates night that we hope that you all turn in to as well. We don't have any public hearings. The announcements. Just want to remind everybody that Tuesday, a week from today, is voting day. You can still vote early until Friday.
Thursday at 5.
Thursday at 5. So Thursday at 5 will be the end of early voting. Polls will then open on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. and voting will be at the Massabesic East School. Town meeting will follow at Massabesic Middle School on next Saturday, the 17th, at 10 a.m. And look forward to everybody being there. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? We've got pretty basic here tonight. We have no appointments, public comments. Not beating down the doors. Correspondence, we got the treasurer's reports, Representative Prescott's newsletter, and Senator Woodsome's newsletter. Reports and staff initiatives. Selectmen's reports. Anything, Gordon?
I'd just like to recognize the girls lacrosse team for having a totally undefeated season. I think they were 12-0 this year. That speaks well. They had, I guess, a massive tournament down there in the new field over the past weekend. So.
Good. Anything else, Gordon?
Nope, that'll do it.
Dwayne?
40-mile-an-hour signs that everybody is complaining about up from Osprey Lake to the Silas Brown Road are back up.
Okay.
I think they've been stolen, taken down, but the state did put them back up. I got 2 calls over the weekend. The residents were very concerned that they called the sheriff's department or the state police and they couldn't enforce it without a speed sign up. So those have been put back up as we speak. I want to congratulate the dump crew because it looked like they had one heck of a day up there. Said that I started up and there was a line back almost to the old fire station. And I started up the road and I just turned around. But it looked like they was feeding it through fairly quickly, so they tell me Sunday was quite a mess down there, but very well taken care of. So.
Yep. Anything else, Dwayne?
No.
Tim?
Just to add to what Dwayne said, I spent some time there on Saturday at the transfer station, and if you've never seen that, you'd have to see it to believe it. It's just total chaos. But Clint and the crew and the contractors that they use do a great job of just moving everyone through, and I think it's a great service for the town. They did a great job. Thank you.
Anything else, Tim?
No, thanks.
I think I am all set, other than that if anyone is interested in going to the EcoMaine annual meeting next Thursday, let me know. I know the invitation everybody got said by noon Friday, but I'm sure we can squeak a few more seats in there if we have to. Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of the things I had on here we've already dealt with, but have an 11 by 17 ad that's actually going to be a full-page ad in the local paper here concerning town meeting elimination. In addition, for the June 13th election, there are 5 non-binding marijuana-related questions. so that the selectmen can get more information from voters here on what citizens here do or do not want in terms of marijuana uses in the confines of Waterboro. Citizens will also be voting on a fire station addition. You remember that last fall, the $2 million project was defeated. We heard that long and loud, and we went back to work to look at the here and now for what we need, and that project is not to exceed $750,000. And you'll also be voting on candidates, 3 candidates for 2 selectmen seats, 1 school board candidate, and 3 candidates for 2 water district positions. On some even better news, the Ossipee River Bridge supposedly will be open to traffic by July 4th. If everything goes as planned and Mother Nature doesn't get in the way. And I would suggest to the board that after the new board gets seated here, we spend some good time sooner rather than later in terms of what we're going to do and plan out in terms of marijuana prohibition or regulation ordinance. I think we need to get on that early, and we probably would also want to have a moratorium all gussied up and done up by Natalie and ready for the first of the year in case we still are uncomfortable come February when the state moratorium expires. And if we need some more time, that's when I think we should use the moratorium as soon as the state comes due. And I'll also remind the board that we need a goals workshop fairly soon, and I was wondering whether or not June 27th or July 11th, or we could do it on off Tuesday night, which sometimes we've done. I think we've taken the whole night for a goals workshop, which is probably not a bad idea. That's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments? All right, we have no new business tonight. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty short session. Old business, we'll go over the 2016-17 budget of where we stand. I think it's just a quick summation, right, Gary?
Yep.
You want to go through that?
Yep. Well, as of June 1st, we have 92% of the year behind us. In a nutshell, I'll give you a summary first, the big picture. The expense budget is 86% expended with 92% of the year behind us, so it's on the right side of the 92. And the revenue budget is at 96% collected, again, on the right side of the 92. So overall, the budget is fine, but there are several points here I'll bring out to the board. You have the expense and revenue reports, and either on your computer or you have the hard copies in front of Dennis. You're going to use that?
Yeah, I'll just walk.
Okay. Health insurance lines, and there's a privacy aspect to the health insurance lines here. On a one-person department, if their particular health insurance line is way over, that can tell people some things in general, but that's another reason why we suggested, and we actually have all the health insurance costs into one line in next year's budget. We budgeted $203,000 for health insurance this year. We've spent 94% of that, and it's probably going to be pretty tight to come out of the end of the year without overspending that line. On page 1 of the expense summary report, you'll see, just a reminder, you've heard this before, the property and casualty budgeted line was about half of what it should have been a year ago, and I think I've since fixed that. We know that there's going to be no more payments for this, so this will be almost $19,000 in the hole for property and casualty, and that line should be budgeted for $40,000 as it is for next year. Flipping over to page 3 on the expense report, the code enforcement line under travel, there's also, the travel isn't over by itself, there's some vehicle repairs in there, and in the budget for next year we've separated the vehicle repairs from the mileage reimbursement, which is, I think, only $300 for mileage reimbursement since we have the cruiser here. Down on the bottom of page 3, that other highlighted line, some of the fines that we had for code enforcement in this room, the consent agreements that you folks ruled on have been put back into this line. You know, we overspent the legal line here by a lot. We had a $5,000 bill just on one code enforcement action going to court. So that's why that line looks a bit flush right now with extra money. I don't use that term extra money lightly in the municipal sense. We put those fines back against the legal line there. Over on page 4, in the middle of that page, the boiler died at the library, which was well over 10 grand. and that's why that line is so overspent. And let's see, again on page 4, Parks and Rec. We bought a small rider mower to help with cemeteries, since we really are still way behind in terms of the numbers of cemeteries that we're getting to. Continuing with Parks and Rec over on to page 5. It was a mistake by a former rec director and myself to lower this line to $30,500 when I think it used to be $35,000 or $34,500. We just never should have done that. We did it at the time, and we weren't paying the $8,000 or $9,000 we are now for buses. We used to rent a bus, pay our own driver, buy our own fuel, and spend a whole lot less money on buses than we are now. It's, pushing $9,000 for buses. This summer, that bus figure will go down somewhat because we're not having the regular swim program at Lake Arrowhead, so there'll be a reduced bus expense for this summer. In addition, the salary line savings in the rec budget is helping. A lot of the things that Todd used to do are being done by others, but we have essentially part of a person now that's not with us anymore in terms of the salary line, since Todd assumed the director's position. Page 6, fire department repairs. The building line in the middle of page 6 there. They had a couple of significant expenses for the air handling unit, and if we have another session with that furnace over there, we're gonna buy a new boiler. Well over $4,000 in labor and materials for that boiler, and it's 16 years old. There's no sense going through another winter like we just did if we have that kind of repairs. Page 7 on the transfer station. You've heard this before from Clint and I think myself. Tipping fees went up with Eco-Maine, causing the line to go up because of that, as well as because we're just busier in this, somewhat improving economy. Also going along with that improving economy is hauling charges. We're going to take more loads out of the transfer station, so the hauling charge line is going to be over budgeted.
Yeah, but net, he's bringing more in, and he's...
Right, he's still well under 80% spent on the 92 year behind us, so the big picture there is fine. And the real eye-opener is on sand and salt over on page 8. We used almost twice as much salt this past winter as we did the one before, with 100 inches of snow. And I don't remember, Dwayne, or maybe some of the other folks who remember how many inches of snow we had the winter before.
Not much.
So,
It was 2 or 3 inches in ice.
yeah.
We had more ice, but
So, Public Works is, still looking pretty good in the whole picture. It's not even 75% expended, but obviously we're going to do some more big ticket items in June in terms of paving. Some of that to come out of the Public Works regular budget. Moving over to the revenue side, the other document you have in your packet. Boat excise taxes show as 81% collected and really coming in heavy. When I did this report, when did we have our last meeting? It was 2 weeks ago. Is that right? 1, 2.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. We were at 57% collected then. We went up to 81%. Motor vehicle excise and rapid renewals are already over 100% collected for the year, with a month remaining in the year. So I'm glad that we budgeted more for those revenue streams in next year's budget, because the upward trend continues there on the revenue side, which is good. On page 2, in terms of Funergy revenues, considerable increase there for a variety of reasons. We budgeted $72,000 in revenues. We've already collected just under $90,000. And same thing with summer camp, which is increasingly popular, but Todd's doing a little better job getting the money up front before summer camp starts. That's why that line is up, and doing a little better job in terms of spending good level of detail and getting people to pay up on a regular basis. Let's see, planning board on page 2, subdivision fees. We budgeted $2,500, we're at $4,300. There's another 1 or 2 subdivisions that have come through, and that's considerable revenue for each one of them. And then transfer station, non-recyclable revenues are up somewhat. And on the transfer station, the whole budget is well over 100% of revenue collection, which is a good thing. But again, we got to pay attention to that from year to year. And I would rather not do corrections before the end of June, but that's up to you folks. I would rather leave the budget, if the department line is fine, I would just rather leave the individual lines like they are because they tell me a good story for the following year. We've been going back in, and I think the budget policy may suggest you can. I don't know that it says you have to make adjustments for the red ink, but I'll leave that up to you folks. I would just rather the budget be what it is at the end of the year, which is a good template for the following year.
I guess if we get to balance these budgets, we got to pull from Peter to pay Paul, which if you pull from Peter out of one, and it's one of those accounts that you're going to roll over, you can't pull from it after July 1st.
Right, everything stops July 1st. I mean,
Right, so if we got to pull from Peter to pay Paul, then
Well, what
we
you're-
need to do it before July 1st.
What you're saying is
Before
that
Mary
if
runs away with all the money.
if the department is good, there's no sense of manipulating the
Funds.
money and be underneath that. It's
You
one
got-
department to the next, right?
yes.
If there's a department that needs to,
This department needs to be adjusted.
adjust it,
Right.
then we need to pull from Peter to pay Paul,
Right.
so.
Well-
And that, if you're gonna pull from another kitty, then you've got to do that before July 1st, because if that kitty is gonna be rolled over, that kitty can't roll over.
You know, IT's close, IT's always close. David, you know, when David's told to buy something, he usually does it in the first quarter, which makes the first 3 quarters look way out of whack, because he buys a lot of things that are one-time expenses. But, you know, that line and, you know, 1 or 2 other individual single-person department lines are skewed from the health insurance angle. We won't have that issue a year from now, because
But
health insurance
We do have it now, and we're gonna have to steal from Peter to pay Paul on health insurance, so.
Right.
We got to find somebody's department that we can take from,
Yep.
and if you're not gonna, you need to do it before July 1st.
Yeah, and that would be for June 27th. I would say for those entire departments that are out, maybe we can do those, but the other, I mean, when I came here,
I wouldn't do within the department. That's taking money out of your left pocket and putting it in the right
I
pocket.
agree.
Because that's all we're doing anyway, but if it's one department to the next, then it's at least accountable.
Yeah.
So the big picture is budgetary from both the expense and the revenue side. We're fine in the big picture, and we should be putting at least $100,000, if not over 2, back into the fund balance at the end of the year. Possibly more, but I'm kind of cautious on saying that at this point in time. Any questions on budgetary things?
You and I spoke though earlier, and I just pulled Julie. I think the latest report I got from Julie is 6/1, and uncollected taxes is now down to 591,000. It was like 7 something the last report when you and I talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we ended the year at like 450 or something like that. So I'm assuming that maybe this month we get closer to that number, but. I mean, it all will come in sooner than later, right? I mean, later than sooner. But. And we have money in the bank, so that's all that matters. Any other questions or comments? Everybody good? And we'll refresh everything and have that discussion on the 27th.
Okay.
Okay? We need to vote to approve the minutes of the May 23rd meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the May 22nd regular meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries 4-0.
On agenda items, Dennis.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about goals workshop in any couple of days, or what do you folks think about when to do that?
My preference would be to do it
Month of July?
month of July, and probably we should take a Thursday night or something, and, right, not, or an off Tuesday night. So
We've
maybe
actually
maybe
done it
the
on a-
18th or
The
something,
4th is
right?
gonna be on a Tuesday, so.
We've done it on a Saturday morning before, too.
Yeah, we've done that on a
We've gone
Saturday.
right through.
Well, is it the wish of the board to have a single topic for that, to spend some time, rather than have it as part of a regular meeting? I'd
I
rather
think
do
that'd
that.
be a good idea.
Yeah, so we have two meetings in July. I mean, the 4th is a holiday. So if we did it the 18th,
Okay,
would that work?
let's tentatively set it for the 18th, Sherry. Workshop, goals
So
workshop.
we're gonna have a little bit of a different board because my friend John is leaving us, but,
Right.
So 6 o'clock, same time?
yeah, I would think we'd do it at the same time, because just,
Continuity.
yeah.
And are you okay with starting marijuana discussions?
Yeah, we'll see what this vote looks like.
27th?
I mean, you get municipalities all over the state jumping, and, I mean, I think every week there's a council or a vote somewhere that's doing something
I
different.
have talked to people all over the state in the last 2 or 3 weeks with the work that I've been doing, and nobody knows what they're doing. Some of them put moratoriums on, some of them trying to have 1 vote, some are having 5 votes, some are,
Well, this kind of gets back, and we've had this, not to belabor this meeting with it, but we've had this discussion where that thing went through because everybody looked at it as it was going to be recreational, marijuana was going to be legal, right? Nobody got into the weeds about, well, if you sell it, it's going to have to be tested and, da-da-da, and so now all of this stuff is
yeah, come to the
coming out of the
surface.
woodwork, so.
Well, obviously, we would have on the 27th of June, since the new board will be seated then, we can have a discussion of the results of the 5 questions.
Yeah, we'll summarize that, and I think from that, then we can determine what course of action we're gonna
Because
do.
the prohibition's gonna be easy, that's a sentence or two.
My sense of it is you're gonna get a mix, we'll see.
Yeah.
One, we get to start some zoning, and 2, if this passes in favor of having weed in town, then we need to have some zoning on it.
Yeah, either, and we can't do anything until the state gets
Right.
done.
I won't ask VJ to come on the 27th, I think we need to beat that around ourselves, but certainly at a follow-up meeting, I think he should be here.
Yeah, and we need to start to, we need to regroup on this, and if we can discuss that with the new board of, the action items of the, comprehensive plan and whatnot. I'm a little concerned that there are 2 or 3 new developments that are being proposed, and I'm not sure that they're taking anything into consideration that was done in the comprehensive plan.
For those specific developments?
Yeah, I mean, one in particular that happens to, only because it's going to be on Deering Ridge Road, we're going to dump 6 more driveways out into the street on Deering Ridge Road, and I think that could have been looked at a little bit differently. And
Talking about the street opening ordinance, or?
I believe that from what I looked at that subdivision, those are shoestring lots.
yeah,
No question in my mind, those are shoestring lots that they're trying to create, and that was a no-no
yeah.
for years.
So anyway, I just think that, I know that they're still working changes and whatnot, but I think we need to look at, because it's gonna, I mean, with the amount of just open land is on the market today in the town, there's gonna be a bunch of things happening, so. And we get the comprehensive plan, we ought to make sure that we're following, right? So,
They've done the same thing on the Capitol lots.
Yep.
Going up the Clark's Bridge Road, those are shoestring lots, because that land behind it was deeded to the land trust. And those are minimum road frontage and shoestring.
Well, they got them, the 6 up on the ridge are already marked out, we got them, I'm sure for their planning purposes, but, and as I drove down through there the other day, I'm going, well, it's 6 more driveways I gotta worry about whether or not somebody's
Is that
gonna,
near the Deering property?
right across in the old red schoolhouse field, if you will.
The Carpenter ones, I mean, those have drainage easements on them that are permanent.
I realize that, but
They're supposed to.
they're still shoestring lots. There's-
Anyway, we're not gonna solve it. It's-
Southern Maine always called them shoestring lots, and
And we don't need to talk about a development that happens to be coming before the board, that's their issue, but we ought to talk about the things that should be, shouldn't be in,
addressed.
so. All right, anything else for the next agenda? Items needing signature.
Sherry's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry.
There may be an executive session at 5:45. for
Yes.
the meeting.
And we do have an application, we got somebody going off the ZBA and,
Off the planning board.
Right,
I'm
off-
sorry, ZBA. correct.
off the ZBA, and Kurt would like to go back on, and we don't need to interview him if his application is in here, so we'll put his application on the 27th, and we'll interview the other person that was for, what, the cemetery or garden or something.
That was the person that did not show the last time?
No, this is a new app.
Oh,
Is that person that didn't show rescheduled? No?
Anyway, next meeting, we'll do the executive session at 5:45, but I can't see bringing Kurt in here to,
I don't see why. I think we're lucky to get him back.
He wanted to go on the planning board or the zoning board?
He
ZBA.
wants to go into ZBA. Okay, items needing signature, minutes of the 23rd meeting. And other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, and that'll give a little break for, before the candidates night.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting.
Okay, been moved to adjourn. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0, and
6:01.